Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and get started at Dakota Prairie time at 5:15. We have a little change in the agenda order as we approved a new public participation. And so just notice the change in order that will start tonight. So I think, Brian, am I okay? Okay. To call the meeting to order, I have a quorum. All right, so this is an opportunity for comments from the audience to address the board concerning issues that are not on the agenda. Per the policy, the presentation should be as brief as possible, and unless an extension of time is granted, a speaker will now be limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Willard. All right, Susan Struy. Hello, Susan.
I'm disappointed, yes, that we can't do the pledge. And you guys are the only ones who don't, because the other boards we go to and attend to, they all do it before anything else. And being school-oriented, it should be a must. I usually come here speaking regarding the fact that we are fighting a spiritual battle between good and evil, and it still is going on, and it'll probably go on for a little while longer. Strife opens the door for the evil, so the more we are upset, the more we lie, the more we everything, evil stays around. I've decided to take a different stance today, so the question I have is, who, how, and when was the Dakota War College blog contacted on March 21st, 2023, as there was content related to school probation status review by the South Dakota Department of Education? That doesn't sound good. Because I've never heard of such a thing happening to a school losing their accreditation. Sounds like maybe somebody's trying to pull some kind of scare tactics together or something to make it seem like it's a really big deal. But I think you all knew that eventually it was all planned anyway. I feel the same. The blame was misplaced. Communication was a major problem, and who's really to blame? So I'm going to keep stating that Jesus is still the answer. True. He stands for truth. He is truth. So where is the truth here? Sounds like somebody's trying to hide it, but it cannot be hidden. It will always be found out. Judgment is definitely coming. How soon? We don't know. Be prepared. Jesus is still the answer.
Thank you. Jeanette Gibbons. Hi, Jeanette.
Jeanette Gibbons, I'm from Brookings, and I appreciate the chance to talk to you. I continue to request to have a little extra time, although we've gone the other direction now. We've gone from 5 minutes down to 3 minutes. I'll address that shortly. I'm here tonight just, first of all, to bring attention to the very good news story about Brookings is now off the probation problem. And actually, this story busted on Thursday, which I found out after I contacted the Department of Education. I like to go to the source to get my information whenever possible. So good news for Brookings. It never was the sky is falling, but now we have confirmation that we're good to go now through 2028. I am also here on a more serious mission. I am politely and formally requesting that our board step down. We're very disappointed. I speak for myself, but I also speak for many stakeholders because I do talk to a fair number of people. So, why would we ask such a thing? We as the stakeholders have lost faith and trust in your ability to lead the district. We see shortcomings in the way the process was handled with the resignation and the search firm appointment. We have major issues with the porn books, which will be allowed and are in our schools. And communication is number one. I've heard a lot about communication, but let's talk about communication. I went back to a document that I found online, which is put out by the Associated School Boards of South Dakota, and they have a school board handbook. and a lot of information in that handbook. I have poured through it before. I went back to it again last night. The roles and responsibilities, how important communication is. We're talking communication with the stakeholders being utmost important. Stakeholders, we also need to communicate with our superintendent, who is our spearhead person in the district that's carrying out the policies that you create or that you bring to our attention. So there's very clear distinction of duties. The school board should be at this very high level, creating good policies, and with the number one goal, what is the number one goal? Our students, our children of the future, our children right now. So what's more important than the children? To me, nothing. I look at my own children who are grown adults, I look at my grandchildren and simply melt. And all I can say is I want the very, very best for them. I don't see that happening in our schools right now. So again, I respectfully ask for the resignation of our school board. I also am here to announce that I was selected and I volunteered to be a messenger in putting forth a document that has been sent now to our state's attorney, Dan Nelson, to Marty Jackley, and to Dr. Graves in the Department of Education. Communication. And let's meet. Why don't we meet once a month and have an open discussion where we actually have a chance to talk? I'm talking at you right now, without questions allowed, of course, except sometimes they are. I'm cut from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Again, we're cutting down on communication instead of supporting open communication between us. I am happy to talk to you. Our views may not agree on several issues, but I am very good at listening. And I'm very good at stating my point and supporting my reasons. But I am also open to listening to others. And yes, sometimes people actually are able to convince me that I am wrong. So good communication works that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jeff Struey.
Had to use it for our sign-in.
I know, I was like, this is really nice. All right, Jeff, you know the deal with the green light.
Yep.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. I am actually not really upset that it's gone from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, because you probably don't want to hear me any longer than for an extra 2 minutes. But anyway, a couple of things I've talked about before. I have read the First Amendment to the Constitution here before, and it needs to be reread. So Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government, capital G, not small g, for a redress of grievances. Now, redress of grievances, it was also contended that it covers actions by federal, state, and local governments. It also includes public employers, public university systems, and public school systems. So let's, one thing, I guess it doesn't really disturb me, but I don't think there's been too many votes that hasn't been unanimous. And I think it's almost like a corroboration of, you know, what are we going to vote on this week, and not even talk about it or have your own opinions. But whenever there's a unanimous decision, because I sat on the student senate at the college I went to, and I made sure there was no unanimous decisions, because it can come back and bite people. Because if there's at least a naysayer there, I don't have to point to every single one of you and say, well, you've done something wrong. This way I can just say, y'all did something wrong. So a new topic. I've talked about it before, but there was a decision made recently, and it's on the social studies standards. The board here voted 5-0 unanimously to vote against the new social studies standards. I'm asking, and I don't need a response, but did anybody read the entire thing? The entire thing? Okay. Awesome. I did too, and my dad was a high school or a junior high history teacher for 37 years in Madison, and I corrected papers for him when I was first, second grade, and I learned a lot about history, and when I read this thing in the entirety, I thought it was one of the most outstanding standards I have ever read, whether it's science, math, social studies, whatever. So I guess it didn't surprise me that you voted against it. A lot of school districts did. But I think I was shocked that it kind of gives you a sense that our teachers aren't ready or they're not qualified to teach this. And I know darn well that every time we get done speaking, the superintendent has this Bobcat thing where teachers bring up their students, and it's one of the most amazing things. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. We are moving on to approve our agenda tonight, and so I'm looking for a motion of approval of our agenda as presented. Okay, moved by Wes
Second.
and seconded by Terry. Brian, we're ready for that vote. As we all, I think it just came up. All right, motion passes. I'll go ahead and read the mission statement tonight. So the mission statement is the Brookings School District prepares all learners to be confident, engaged citizens empowered to impact the ever-changing and interconnected world. This is a time for board members and the administration to identify any items on the agenda tonight that could be considered a conflict of interest.
We have none.
Thank you, Dr. Willard. Moving on to our action item tonight under new and unfinished business. We have reached a ratification of the 2023-2024 master agreement. And so I'm looking for a motion to ratify that agreement.
I would move to ratify the 2023-2024 master agreement.
Second.
Moved by Teresa and seconded by Terry. Comments or discussion from the board?
I'm assuming after we ratify this, then the red marks are removed and we get a copy of the complete new master agreement laid out.
Is that correct?
And just was checking with Melissa that you don't have anything to add. Okay, thank you.
All right, I would just mention that we're just grateful for our process together, and we reached an agreement and feel great about our salary policy and other items that we agreed upon this year. So just very thankful for our relationship with the BEA. So thank you, thank you. All right. All right, motion passes. All right, I'm looking for a motion to enter into executive session this evening. This is pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2 subsection 1, personnel.
I motion we move into executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2 for personnel.
I second that motion.
Right? Moved by Teresa and seconded by Deb. Oh, sorry. I think we're ready for that, Brian. Sorry to be a screen behind. All right, we are now almost there. In executive session. And we have no action items after executive session this evening. I think it's passed. Not popping up, Jason, but it's 5. There we go. Thank you. Got that? Missy, See you later.